It's Monday Night Threesome! And I don't mean the kind of threesome Triple Nose is having with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Generic tonight. Oh no. I mean triple threats, the wrestling sense of a threesome. Oh yes. Where three people are competing, but one of them will be out of the ring half the time, to provide fans with some one-on-one action instead, which is of course a lot easier to choreograph. Money in the Wank is on the horizon, and it will be another aimless, cheapskate card. Why, you ask? No world title matches, that's why. 2 world titles on WWE TV, 3 if you count the NXT belt, but we're only counting the big boy belts, frankly. Neither one is up for grabs. Oh no. Let me take you back in time, a little while ago now, 14 years. Money in the Bank 2011. One of the absolute best events of the just awful PG era. It gave fans 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, both contested by men, to be clear, so they actually had a shot at being good. As well as 2 great world title matches. There's also a hilarious part where Mark Henry just destroys the Big Show in the mid-card. There was a lot of good stuff on this show. So the world title match is a heated, chaotic brawl, and possibly the greatest DQ finish of the 2010s between Randy Orton and Christian. And then, much more importantly, in the main event, an all-time classic between John Cena and CM Punk, one of the absolute best matches of the decade just gone, the 2010s. Just gone, who am I kidding? We're already halfway through the 2020s. Anyway, now heading into this year's Money in the Bank, Cody Rhodes is back in action. He came back at Saturday night's main event. But rather than just challenging good old get-off-my-lawn phase John Cena to a title rematch, what most people in the office and in the audience were expecting, he demanded a tag team match, player, where him and mid-card Jey Uso will take on John Cena and fake Paul's tattoo-free brother Logan at Money in the Stank. What absolute boulder dash codswallop malarkey. What kind of a match is that for a pay-per-view? Why wouldn't Cody just challenge for the big belt? Is he retarded? Has the peroxide leaked into his brain? He got screwed last time in storyline. John Cena and Travis Scott, for reasons unknown, gave him the hard shaft. Therefore, he has a very good argument for an immediate rematch. After all, he was WWE champ for over a year. It's perfectly valid. In reality, if this was UFC or something, Cody Rhodes, in this scenario, would absolutely get a rematch. Here, though, no, he just wants a quaint little tag team match. What an idiot! Oh, anyways, look at me, I'm losing my cool. So, despite being a wrestling show, Monday Night Raw this week, of course, opened with a promo. Seth Rollins came down to the ring with his 3 short kings, Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Paul Gayman. Reed and Breakker had just come from a funeral, quite sad, by the looks of their all-black suits, so my condolences to whoever those 2 lost this week. Paul Heyman stank the joint out with his usual one-note sleazeball manager promo he's been doing for 20-plus years now. And during the promo, he made a reference to Skynet. Here's a newsflash, you gluttonous boomer. No one likes Terminator anymore. It's a dead franchise, dark fate, a pathetic, girl-boss cash grab that failed at being a cash grab because no one went to see it, where John Connor dies, spoilers, and is replaced by a box-ticking diverse female lacking in any personality, and the Arnold Terminator is a cuck. No, literally, I don't mean the silly way people use that word as slang now. He's literally a cuck in the film. Yeah, all that stuff I just said, that killed the Terminator franchise, and finicky little anime on Netflix is not going to change that. No one cares about Terminator anymore. But yeah, Paul Heyman being out of touch and old is to the shock of absolutely no one. Get some relevant pop cultural references already, good grief. Heyman did do a slightly better job bigging up Bronson Reed, and he did note how Reed took out Seth Rollins last year, although why exactly Bronson Reed and the Architect are buddies now is very much up for debate. And if you're expecting an answer to that debate anytime soon, good luck. So the fans, they loved that hideous Seth Rollins entrance theme. But then they started booing him during his promo, so he rightly pointed out that they still sing his silly entrance theme. Given he's a heel now, You would think they might do away with that song for a while, at least, for some extra heat, but apparently not. Rollins' promo was very run-of-the-mill. We've seen it all before from him. It's just the same thing every week with this guy. It was kind of interesting the first time, but now... And also, I can't help but note that Reed and Breaker are starting to look like the big, mean versions of Rollins' old J&J security team, thanks to those matching suits. Anyways, this show had some okay matches, actually. It wasn't that bad, action-wise. Nothing special, but, not bad. First up, the first of the men's Money in the Bank qualifiers for the night. Penta, our zero other names anymore, took on Chad Gable and Dragon Lee. Shocking botch here as Penta went for some kind of double move where he planted Dragon Lee with a very sloppy, frankly, gory bum, whilst also hitting Gable with some kind of, I'm just going to assume, facebuster maybe. Anyways, instead of that, Penta nearly Hayabusa'd Chad Gable. We nearly had a Christopher Reeve tragedy here, sending the former Olympian directly onto his head in a very unnerving, worrying mix-up. You know what they say? You can take the mid-carder out of AEW, but you can't take the AEW out of the mid-carder. Shocking stuff. Poor Chad Gable. Fortunately, Gable actually did seem to be okay, and he finished this match without any problems. The rest of the bout is what you'd expect from these three, with a lot of fast-paced action and high-impact move trading. Gable threw a cheeky cheap shot at upcoming Worlds Collide opponent El Midgeto de Viking Short at one point, which came back to haunt him when the high-flying dwarf rucked him with a kick, busting Gable open in the process. Poor Chad Gable, he just could not catch a break in this disaster zone of a match for him. First he lands on his head, then his face is cut open. What next? Someone shoots him? Anyways, a slick moves trade ended this bout with Lee squashing Gable with a double stump before immediately getting smashed with a Canadian-Mexican destroyer from Penta, who then put Gable out of his misery with a Penta driver for the win. Yeah, very entertaining match by TV standards. Bar the nearly career-ending botch right at the start, of course. Incredibly disturbing angle next. I genuinely, no joke, I might actually have to stop watching Raw at this rate because this was really bang out of order. This was inappropriate. Dominik Mysterio was flirting with a high schooler next. A minor. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I get he's called Dirty Dumb, but come on now. There's a limit here, guys. Let's have some taste, thanks. Anyways, Liv Morgan returned. She's a grown woman, so that's okay. And we're seriously meant to believe someone would leave Liv Morgan for a kid. Just sickening stuff. Rusev beat Tozawa next, more like Tojubba. Anyway, I don't care. Rusev has and does and probably always will suck. There. I said it frankly, he is just a bit too stocky and dumpy to be a convincing big boy monster. He's too slow and cumbersome to be an effective, explosive wrecking ball. And he's too much of a cuck, for real. Not in the silly slang way people say now. He's literally a cuck. Look at this guy. On TV. And in reality, he seemingly is a cuck as well. So it's just impossible to take him seriously. And someone in the comments section, if there are any comments for, the dozen views this video will get, someone will bring up Rusev Day. And frankly, old Vince McMahon was right. People liked that chant as a meme, sure. The man behind it really wasn't that over on his own at the time. In fact, Aiden English was the real architect of that getting popular. And every angle with Rusev, eventually, not immediately, but soon, don't worry, it'll come, revolves around either Lana not putting out for him, that was the AEW one initially, or putting out with another man, which was in WWE and then later on AEW as well. His AEW run was awful, and now we're all meant to act like it's some huge deal. This veteran jobber is back. Anyways, Sheamus, a much, much better wrestler all round, to be honest, came out and he got in Rusev's face. So that'll be a thing at some point, a feud for you to look forward to, and it was also a feud you could look forward to a decade ago, where for some reason Dubliner Sheamus was a US patriot, opposite Bulgarian Rusev inexplicably being a Vladimir Putin simp. Wow, that really did make no sense at all. Both these guys have awful music now. Back then they both had quite good entrance themes. Def Rebel have ruined music forever in WWE. These talentless shouts. I don't know whose cuck they've got in their asses, or who they're related to behind the scenes, but let me tell you something. They are the audio equivalent of pure, unbridled AIDS. Oh, no, actually the show picked up a bit next. Kathy Kelly, who really makes me wish that WWE would bring back the bra and panties division specifically for the interviewers. Interviewed two unfunny so-called comedians, probably from the Joe Rogan sphere of unfunny, unmanly, middle-aged men who think they're based and hip, when they can't even do a single good punchline. These guys suck. One of these idiots apologized for bad-mouthing WWE or something, and I don't care, it's cool WWE got him to apologize on their live show, I guess. But no, when I said it's picked up, the only thing of any importance here, the only thing that picked up, was when Kathy Kelly turned up and we all got a quick look at her truly magnificent pair of tits, tragically covered up in a tasteful, sensible outfit, but still the best part of this segment by 1,000 country miles. Oh, so there were some segments through the night, I forgot to mention this earlier, of Sami Zayn being all up in his feelings, as per usual. Jey Uso was his life coach or something, and, well, yeah, it was just the typical soy-consuming nonsense you get from Sami Zayn, Mr. Emotions himself. Yeah, it wasn't that exciting, don't worry. Yeah, it wasn't good. So the New Day, who have become a completely nothing team. Despite the heat that initial heel turn on Big E got, they were inexplicably jubbed out a bunch of times right afterwards. It killed all the interest in this heel angle they had going on. Anyways, they retained the tag titles next against the War Raiders and the Creed brothers, both of whom are more interesting teams at this point, to be honest. Very basic psychology, with the heel teams ganging up on the War Raiders, and plenty of space for the losing duos to get their spots in and look decent, before Woods got a surprise roll-up on one of the Creeds. What? You expect me to know which one's which? Jey Uso out next. The World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso. It still feels so strange to say. He was out next to talk in a very shrill, oddly teary voice, as per usual, with extended pauses, like a sitcom actor waiting for the studio to laugh, only here it was so the crowd could of course go, Thankfully, Gunther interrupted pretty darn quick before it could get out of hand. For the sake of both men, this never-ending feud needs to end. These two have very little chemistry on the mic a lot of the time, and absolutely zero chemistry in the ring. Before WrestleMania, there were two decent segments. That one where Gunther turned Jimmy Uso into a bloody pulp, and the next week where Jey Uso cut a serious promo for a change that was actually quite good. That's it. Those were the only two interesting segments they've ever had. All of their matches have been clunky, plodding affairs. Gunther, once again, kinda like Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins earlier on in the night. If you've seen one promo from this guy, you've seen most of them. Gunther cut his usual snooty heel promo, dissing Jey Uso for daring to have friends. Okay? And he also promised to get the belt back. That was a bit more normal. Uso, who seemed weirdly out of sorts for some reason, I don't know what was going on with him, vowed to make Gunther tap out again. Fair enough. Booking-wise, this match coming up between these two is a lose-lose. If Jey Uso is to drop the belt, he looks like a choke artist, a flash in the pan. His big push was all for nothing. If Gunther loses again, his aura takes another big dive after his embarrassing tap-out at WrestleMania. Terrible, counterproductive matchmaking, a rematch happening way too soon. Cody Rhodes has a podcast now, by the way, because everyone in the world has one, apparently. Rhodes wants alcoholism to sweep the wrestling fandom too. He really is quite evil sometimes. With that tacky vodka WWE promote being slapped all over his wrestling tour bus. Disgraceful. I will not stand for this. Bring back prohibition, I say. Anyways, let's get this review over with. I have a severe hangover today. There was an awkward butchy match between Liv Morgan and Kairi Sane. Sane won, very surprisingly. Jubby Sane is usually only here to jub. And also, unfortunately for her, have some unfunny Markstrap pirate ship jokes to do with a WrestleMania from years ago or something. I can't be asked to research it. I'm not interested in the brain of the Mark and their crappy humour, but yeah, something like that. Anyways, this upset wasn't really to set up a Sane push. It was just there to tease more tension between Liv Morgan and that 10th grader Dirty Dom's got his sick, perverse, wandering eye on. Presumably Dirty Dom will officially leave Liv Morgan for the schoolgirls. That'll be a couple of years behind bars again for Dirty Dom. He's no stranger to the prisoner life, of course. Presumably, Dirty Dom will leave Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. based on Triple Nose's usual booking patterns, so that Michael Cole, very anemically, very unenthusiastically, can point out, wait a second, he got with Liv at last year's SummerSlam. So that's right, Michael, yes. Jim Ross would have put a lot of passion into telling you something like that, but Michael Cole is impotent, in more ways than one. No energy at all. Dreadful commentator, just awful. Rhea Ripley had a cringe video promoting her appearance at Money in the Bank. Utterly insufferable. Look, there's a few videos in the past, maybe some long-time subscribers will remember, and I'll be seriously worried for how much time they have on their hands if they do remember. I used to say Rhea Ripley was quite a good women's wrestler. Well, let it be known that the Burial is not someone afraid of admitting when he was wrong. Rhea Ripley, while athletic, sucks. Awful promo, insipid, annoying Australian accent. This is coming from someone who spent a long time in Australia, just to be clear. Same promo every week, thinks she's a guy half the time with how she presents herself, I think. Dreadful. Yeah, not good. What are the odds I've said all that she'll win Money in the Bank now? Bird Lady out next, to make fun of Becky Lynch being a grovelling politic backstage. Yeah, that was quite funny. And it sounds about right, it would explain a lot. The material for Bird Lady's promo was okay, and there was some chit-chat on her history with Lynch and what she's prepared to do to beat her again. Ooh. But Bird Lady, to be honest, she is kind of lacking in that charisma department still, so this, while not awful, really wasn't all that compelling either. Becky cringed, then stormed out to give us more of that lame overacting that has not, in any way, shape, or form, translated into that Hollywood career that her and her delusional Mark fans seem to think it would. Lynch called Seth Rollins hot at one point, which, come on, let's be real. He used to be, right? But he hasn't been in years. This isn't white tights 2015 Seth Rollins anymore, okay? This is middle-aged, widow's peak, zest merchant Seth Rollins. Just to be clear, though, I myself have never found him or any other man hot. Because as I'm sure you might recall, or just instinctively know,
I am not gay.
Anyway, this segment really wasn't that good. Becky Lynch is an overrated embarrassment to wrestling, and her I'm the man days were to wrestling what rust is to a boat. Just dreadful stuff, and nothing since has been any better. Oh, and also, you can all but guarantee now that she's winning at Money in the Bank, which will probably lead into Bird Lady regaining the belt around SummerSlam, I suppose. Karrion Kross had a little segment with Sami Zayn. Mr. Feeling, Zayn that is, not Kross. Due to one worked shoot rant, people are now acting like Kross is about to be the next big thing. Okay, look, his promos are okay, I quite like his character. But once the bell rings, the crowd goes mild. And unfortunately, and this next part isn't entirely his fault, of course, but he's also got some serious jobber stank on him after the past couple of years of failed gimmicks and mid-card losses, not to mention the long shadow cast by that time Vince McMahon repackaged him as a bondage enthusiast jobber. Also, most importantly, for those thinking that promo is going to make Kross Mr. Superstar, I mean, hey, maybe it could happen. It's not totally out of the question. But let's just remember, WWE's response to that promo was jobbing Kross out to Dragon Lee on Main Event. And I like Dragon Lee as much as the next guy, but he's not exactly a top dog, let's be real. So don't go holding your breath for that Karrion Kross super push to arrive anytime soon. Right, so Main Event time, finally. Zest Rollins, Sami Zayn, Pin Jabor. You know, actually, Finn Balor, when he was Prince Devitt, that was his old name, in New Japan, he was the ace of their smaller man's division. That's not laughed at in Japan like it is in the States. The junior heavyweights of New Japan and other such companies, very prestigious. He genuinely was one of the absolute best wrestlers, bell to bell, in the world, bar none. Amazing talent, fantastic athlete, selling, crisp, offense, very slick. He can do it all. Technical mat work, bit of high flying, yeah. Amazing. And he's still not a bad wrestler now, but unfortunately, rather than the ace of a division, he is just, well, you're about to see. 2 ad breaks in the first 10 minutes of this match. Way to disjoint the match right there. A total disservice to all 3 men. Zayn did a neat homage to the late Sabu, may he rest in peace. He was a very entertaining wrestler, Sabu, very inventive, hardcore wrestler, much better than the garbage deathmatch wrestlers you normally get. Poor Sabu was tragically murdered, just about, allegedly, by GCW and that short fat pleb who used to be in AEW sometimes. Apparently Sabu could barely move, so he was put on some petrol station opioid to do a match he clearly wasn't fit to do. And the poor guy, he goes flying out of the ring. He probably doesn't even know where he is. He's high as a kite. His head just bashes against that concrete floor. I mean, yeah, the match just continued after that. That's what I was going to say then. Yeah, I'm so tired today. I'm losing track of what I'm saying. But, I'm no scientist or CSI man or cup, but the whole thing seems very shady, and who knows, maybe if Sabu hadn't done one last match, he'd still be around, Sad stuff. Anyway, so this triple threat copied the Tag One's layout for a bit, with the heels forming an uneasy alliance to beat up the babyface. Never mind the long-running beef between Rollins or Balor or anything. Continuity be damned. We need that cheap 2-on-1 psychology to get sad boy Sami some fan sympathy. The work rate with this match was fine. All three of these guys are slick, seasoned performers. It'd be astonishing for the match to be bad, but the storytelling was rather lazy. Overbooking struck later on, with Rollins' toy boys coming out to beat up Zayn, leading to Jey Uso making the save. Dirty Dom took a break singing in A minor to come and allegedly help pin Balor by throwing a chair into the ring. Alright, this next part is one of the funniest spots I've seen all year. It was absolutely hilarious. Allegedly, Dirty Dom has given this chair to pin Balor. No, he's thrown it right into the middle of the ring. He's useless. No real effort to get it directly to pin, who then just got curb stomped directly into it by Rollins to do what he does best, jub like a jubbing jubber. That finish, that whole setup of Dirty Dom, was it by accident or does he actually just hate Finn Balor, setting the guy up to look like a fool? It was just absolutely hilarious. Post-match, this reminds me, this is how big a deal CM Punk is now. CM Punk jumped Rollins for a quick little cameo on the show. So fun fact about triple threats, I'm sure anyone who's listening to some minor Bush League channel's review of Monday Night RAW will know what I'm about to say about wrestling. Fun fact about triple threats, they are no disqualification. Punk actually could have attacked Seth Rollins during the match and potentially cost him the bout entirely, maybe for some real revenge, really teach Rollins a lesson, but no. No! Just a cheeky GTS after the final bell where Rollins is already successful and going to Money in the Bank. Brilliant! Not at all illogical or stupid. No, brilliant. That's what that was. Great.